and you're not off to a good start.
You dropped.
Isn't this great? I don't know who came up with this night, but you get to spend a whole night with people you grew up with, mentors, people you work with. Somebody yelled Frank Dawson. Thank you to Frank for coming up with such a great idea. This is awesome. Thank you everybody for being here. And the committee as well. So, Garfield in itself is a special place. And it's mainly because of the people. The people here in Garfield, at least for me, have made a tremendous impact. I was born in Miami. I was born anywhere near here, and I moved to Colombia. I lived in Medellin until I was 9 years old. During that time, Colombia was very bad. It was the early 90s. Pablo Escobar, drug wars, and so my family decided that it'd be better off leaving there and moving back to the States. So we came back to the States, and right in the midst of that, my father was murdered in Colombia. And that left a void in my life and in my family's life. My family during that time my dad's side of the family decided that they were going to try to keep everything he owned, and that everything we owned. They told my mother that they were going to not only keep everything that they owned, but they were going to keep me and my sister. So my mother made a very tough decision. She decided to leave everything she had ever worked for, everything that she knew, including her 6 brothers and sisters, her mother, and booked a one-way flight for my sister, herself, and for myself. And that's how we ended up in Jersey. We went from having it all to starting from scratch and having nothing. In fact, I remember being in a room with my mother and my sister, and we didn't even have AC, so we were naked in a room because it was so hot in the summer. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I feel that this night, again, giving credit to Frank Dawson and to the committee, it fell perfectly on Mother's Day. And I can't thank my mother enough for everything she's done and all the sacrifices she's put. So she worked day and night, and I grew up with my sister alone in a one-bedroom apartment. And since I was missing that father figure and that discipline and a few ass beatings that he couldn't give me because he wasn't around, I decided to be a little rebellious, and I was doing things that I probably shouldn't have done. And some of the people here could tell plenty of stories about that. For example, I was having lunch with my friend Lewis a few months back, and we quickly looked over, and there was, I thought I saw Herbert standing over there, sitting over there with his girlfriend, and I said, "Is that her?" And Lewis said, "Yeah, that's him." I looked over, and I'm like, "Herb." And he looks over at his girlfriend, who I had never met, Aisha. She's sitting right next to him, and he says, "Remember that little spiky haired boy I was telling you about? He used to always get me in trouble? That's him." And that's how I met Aisha. So, I no longer have spiky hair, as you guys can see. And the reason that I was able to kind of stay in line was because of the people here in Garfield. So people like Coach Piclo, who just was up here talking. My freshman year of high school, thank you, Coach Piclo. My freshman year of high school, I was practicing. You know, they put everybody over to start playing soccer, and Coach must have noticed something in me and had me start practicing with the varsity team as a freshman. And I loved it. I mean, I loved everything about it. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I loved doing. And the next day, somebody came to me and said, "Hey Frank, there's a cup party. You want to come?" I said, "School? Cup party? I'm going to this cup party." So I went to the cup party, and sure enough, cops come in, take us all back to school. The following day, Coach Piccolo says to me, calls me over at practice and says, "You're not practicing varsity anymore, and you know what." Now, Coach doesn't know this, but that hurt me so much because I knew that I could play with the varsity guys. But he took something away from me that I loved, and rightfully so. I blamed him at the time, but in hindsight, I realized that it was me. It was my fault, and that taught me a lesson. That was a turning point for me. And that was a turning point for me. There was one other thing that happened that year. It was with Scudillo. And Scudillo I could sit here and tell stories about Scudillo all night. She's definitely been very helpful in my life and has helped fill that void that my father left. I call Scudillo to this day and tell her what's going on. So, Scudillo took a chance on me freshman year and took me to Tix Camp, LMTI now, as a freshman. And she said to me, "Normally I don't take freshmen. The only other freshman I've taken is Miles Austin. I'm going to take you." But she was hesitant. And my idea was I had to prove her wrong. Except the first day of Tix Camp, 3-day camp, I decided that it was a good idea to put shaving cream on my bunkmate's hand and then tickle his face. Well, he fell off the top bunk, couldn't find the door, was bumping into every wall, and Scudillo comes barging in, saying things I can't repeat. And who did this? And nobody's saying a word. Yes, thank God. I'm not gonna get caught. Sure enough, you're in high school, everybody. Marcus. Where's Marcus? He's supposed to be here. I don't think he's here yet. So Marcus is a pilot. He'll be coming soon. But anyway, Marcus ratted me out. I found that out. And Scudillo calls me in and says, "This is why I don't play freshmen into..." And just went off on me. And again, that lit a light bulb in me and taught me a lesson. So my point is, people like Scudillo, Saganik, Piccolo, even Mr. Animal. I use one of his, Chris Animal. I use one of his, I think of him every time. I'm in the military, and so a lot of times when people call me and they say, "Yo," I turn to them and I say, "Yo? Who's yo?" And that's because Mr. Animal, one day I called him yo. And at this point, he had already beaten my butt like 3 times. So I turned to him and I said, "Yo," trying to get his attention. And he turns to me and says, "Who's yo?" And he starts walking towards me, and I never called him yo again. So my point is that people like this in Garfield, and going back to Garfield being a special place, it's because of the mentors, the people. All of you guys have helped fill that void that was left in me. And I can't thank you guys enough for that. So in conclusion, so we can get back to Brandon, I want to thank my mom, my sister, my brother, Sophia and her family, all my friends, my fellow Hall of Famers, and also I want to challenge you guys all to go out of your way and do some of the things that some of the people I mentioned have done for me. So I feel like nowadays people are a little softer. We were talking about this last night at Blackjack's. You can't get away with some of the stuff that was done to us. When I'm telling you Chris Animal beat my butt, I'm not kidding. He was telling the story yesterday. So, Anyway, my point is, I challenge you all to go out of your way and to mentor and teach the young people here in Garfield. It could really change a life, and it's changed my life. Some of the people that I grew up with, man, I mean, some of the people I grew up with are not around because they're either in jail, and that's why I want to thank you guys, because I was hanging out with those people that were definitely in the wrong path, and if it wasn't because of you guys, I could have easily ended up in that. And you can't, I can't thank you guys enough. I've been up here long enough now, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here. Thank you to everybody for coming out. And let's get our drink on.